Hello and welcome to the Alopecia Advocate podcast. My name is Stephanie Anderson. I am your host. This is where we open up real conversations about hair loss, healing, and hope. This is a space for education, for empowerment, and breaking the stigma around hair loss and alopecia and appearance related issues. Together, we explore the stories, the science, and strategies that can help us all see the beauty, the strength, and confidence in a new light. Our special guest today is Kellie Rhymes. We're going to dive into Kellie's journey, her insight, and what drives her work to support and inspire others. But first, let me share a little bit about Kellie with you. Kellie is not only a proud mom of two energetic boys in St. Louis, but also a passionate advocate for women navigating the challenges of hair loss. With background in real estate, she first made her mark coaching others to build successful midterm rental businesses. But as fulfilling as that was, she felt called to something deeper, supporting women on a journey she knows all too well herself. After losing her hair in her 20s, she transformed that deeply personal experience into a mission. Now, a certified transformational practitioner, she helps women shift their mindset, rebuild their confidence, and embrace their beauty, whether they wear their hair, a wig, or none at all. When she isn't guiding women through transformation, you might find her at a St. Louis festival, exploring new foods, or dreaming of her next cultural adventure abroad. She believes everything happens for a reason, and her own journey has uniquely equipped her to connect with and uplift others. Welcome, Kellie, and thank you for joining me here today.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing great. It's good to see you.
Yes, you too.
Yes. So we got a limited amount of time, and what we're doing this podcast is to bring more awareness to September Alopecia Awareness Month. So if you're ready, I'll get started with the questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I want to know about your personal reflections. What does alopecia awareness, Kellie, mean to you? And um, how has it affected your personal and professional life, if it has?
Well, alopecia awareness to me means really providing education because so many people just don't understand alopecia, may not even know what it is. Most people just think, oh, or like back in the day, you bald headed. When you had short hair or breakage, people would talk about you and dog you out. So it's really about educating people with alopecia and people without alopecia because so many people are walking around here, have alopecia and don't even realize they have it. They just think something else is going on. So that's really, the advocate part and why it's important to share information.
Yeah.
As far as my personal journey, I was one of those people. When my hair started coming out, I was just thinking, oh, this is something I can figure out. This is something maybe that I'm just treating my hair wrong. I need to stop getting relaxers or I need to stop getting my locks, retwisted, whatever it was. Because at the time when I really noticed it, I had locks. So it was like, oh, well, maybe I'm just retwisting my locks too tight, and then it's like, okay, went into, well, let me use these oils. Let me use this. Let me use that. And not even going to the doctor for so long. I didn't go to the dermatologist for, no, over probably 2 years while I was losing my hair, trying to figure it out, thinking this is something I can fix. So, really letting people know that when you start noticing hair loss and you see a significant amount that's not just shedding, like regular shedding, you need to go see someone. Even if you are going to a stylist and she says, hey, your hair looks like it's a little thin, yeah, you may give it a try to see if she can do some type of treatment to healthy, make your hair healthier. But when you see it's not getting healthier and it's getting worse, you need to immediately go see a physician, either a medical doctor or preferably a dermatologist that specializes in hair loss, or even a trichologist. because those are the people who kind of focus on your scalp and the skin and can tell you what is really going on. As far as the medical doctors, it may be something internal. It may be your hormones. It may be your diet. It could be a number of things that cause hair loss. So kind of making sure people know what to do and where to go. That's also very, very important.
Yes, it definitely is. And thank you for sharing your own personal journey because I know as a practitioner that sometimes by the time it comes to me, it's too late because now you only gave it 2 years, but sometimes I hear 5 years, 10 years
Mhm.
or more, and it's just denial. Or it's people like you that said, well, I can do this myself.
Mhm.
So I love the fact that you said when you see something, say something. When you start to notice something, and that's part of the advocacy, bring the conversation to let people know that once they first see something, it's good to address it then.
Yeah, definitely.
So, in talking about advocacy, what would you say in your area of expertise? Because now you transition to where you coach and you are a transformational person and helping others. What do you believe are the most important steps to raising awareness about alopecia and supporting those with it?
I would say understanding that alopecia affects people in different ways. That's one thing because there are all different types of forms of alopecia out here that we don't even know about. They're probably still discovering more and more. So just understanding that, also understanding that when you do go to a dermatologist and they do give you some type of a treatment plan or something to follow to help you regrow your hair or stop the hair loss, knowing that that's a process. Dermatologists truly don't know what's going to work for you. They are going to try something that may have worked for someone else and see how it works for you. You have to give it 6 months at least to see how it's going for you. And then if it's not working, you may have to switch to something else and another treatment plan and start all over again. So I think really setting the realistic expectations is very, very important. People need to know like this is a process. It's a long process. It's not just go to the dermatologist and they can tell you what it is, give you some medicine, give you some injections in your scalp, and that's it. That's not necessarily the case. With that comes more emotional turmoil because you're thinking, oh man, I'm doing this, I'm taking this medication, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm doing what the doctor prescribed, and it may work a little bit or it may not work at all. And then you become frustrated, you become defeated. And that can send you into a lot of emotional, like just challenges and changes.
Mhm.
So I would say, really, really, I think it's important for people out there, and especially in my line of work, because I really deal with people with the emotional side of it and the mental side of hair loss. Setting that expectation, being real and upfront. Doctors, dermatologists, trichologists, anyone who is treating someone has to set realistic expectations so that people can prepare themselves because this is a journey, like I said. And your hair may totally come out and you may not get it back. Again, there's different forms of alopecia.
Mhm.
So I think that's so important.
And you're right, it's not cookie cutter.
No.
It affects each individual differently. And I
Mm-hmm.
love the way that you said part of the advocacy is about making foundational expectations and allowing people to know what can and cannot happen, what can and may not work, but giving them the opportunity to make a determination if they want to try.
Right.
Now it seems like we're dealing with mental health crises in all different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but if you can kind of talk about, because I've written about it, but I know that you understand about the lack of confidence, the different things that someone um, they may feel because sometimes they think it's all about them, nobody else is going through this, but something along the lines of what could help people support them emotionally.
Yeah, well, so the one thing that a lot of people do is they don't even want to talk about it. They want to act like it's not happening. Like you just said, they're the only ones dealing with it. They don't reach out for support. But with that comes a lot of self-esteem issues because I think anybody who's losing their hair is having a self-esteem issue. The confidence is kind of blown because if you're used to having your identity where you had this hair and you had it a certain way, especially if you were known for your hair, because a lot of women are known for their hair, and to see it just start fading away, that is a blow to your confidence. And then also thinking about that you have to grieve your hair loss, and you don't initially think about it that way, but when you really understand, like, this is what's happening to me, my hair is coming out, I may not be able to have it or keep it or whatever it may be, going through that whole grieving process of, okay, you're going to have that depression, you're going to have that frustration, you're going to have all of the roller coasters of emotions till you get to that point to where you're like, okay, this is what it is. And that's that point of acceptance. So when you think about the grieving process and all those steps that you go through, that is definitely what you're going to go through with hair loss. And I'm sure any other illnesses or, diseases that people may have out there, the same type of thing. But we don't think of it that way. We only think of grieving as, oh, when someone dies, that's when we need to grieve. No, a piece of you has died. A
Yeah.
part of you has died or is dying. So we got to deal with that. You definitely have to deal with that. And I mean, I know I've heard women who just, honestly, I've heard women who have talked about suicide. They don't want to hang out with friends and family. They don't want to be seen in public. And it's like, I don't want anybody to ever get to that point, because you still have a life to live. I know our hair is precious. We love our hair, but we still have a life to live, and we cannot let that defeat us.
We're here to talk the truth. And I'm so glad that you said it, because there are those who consider suicide. They consider because they feel like it's such a profound loss. And yes, thank you for sharing the grieving process. Grief is just not surrounded about death, the physical death. Uh, any profound loss, something that means you're attached to, in this case, it's going to be hair, it's going to cause you to go through those changes. And grief is one of the processes that people do go through. And it's okay. It's
Yeah.
normal. It's a normal reaction, because you are losing something that you're attached to. And with society's unrealistic
Standards.
standards of beauty,
Yes.
it just makes it hard. So I'm so glad that you did bring that out. And it really does need to be shared that this is a process that you may go through. Now, there are some who people don't know, but they're grieving inside because they know.
And
Some,
they're just covering it up.
yeah. And which I'm okay with, however you show up in life, whether you're beautifully a bald baddie like you are, or like those many that I serve that use wigs or whatever coverings. I just want them to feel good about themselves.
Right.
And
Right.
however they show up, it's a process that like some illnesses, people don't divulge their diagnoses, but they
Mm-hmm.
know they don't look ill, but
Mm-hmm.
they know the illness. So it's kind of like that. It's a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Alopecia is a diagnosis.
Yes. Yes.
So we kind of got on it, but breaking stigmas. I mean,
Mhm.
there's such a stigma attached to hair and the loss of it. How can society, we talked about those impossible standards of beauty that society propels and pushes on people.
Mhm.
How can society better support people living with alopecia? And what role do you think that you play as a transformational coach in helping people to get there?
Well, you know what? I think society needs to show more women who may be bald, or, I wouldn't say just hair loss, because, that's kind of different. When we see women with patchy hair spots, like, that's not usually going to be appealing. But when you see either a bald woman who is confidently standing out and living in this world with her greatness, we need to promote more of that. And again, like you said, I'm not telling everybody to go bald, but that's the extreme. So if we can show the extreme as a part of beauty, that would help. So, we have some models out there that are bald. We have, cheerleader that has come out and shown that she has alopecia. We have all Congress women. We have people in the public. It's just not a lot of them. And even people in Hollywood, I know, like, we know Jada Pinkett Smith because she said it, but I know there's way more people in Hollywood that have hair loss and have, alopecia, but they're not showing it. So if we make it normalize it a little bit more, That would help everybody because there are children out here who don't have hair and they, have to deal with those battles because, kids can be mean. They have a whole nother set of struggles that they have to overcome. So realistically, I just believe that it just needs to be shown more. I believe that the medical field needs to pay more attention and really recognize all forms of alopecia and not just some. For example, we have alopecia areata. Yes, they get a lot of support, right? Because pharmaceutical companies have prescriptions and drugs that can help treat that. But for like myself, scarring alopecia, no company is supporting and sponsoring scarring alopecia because there isn't anything out there to help with the cure because there really isn't a cure. So it's like it should not matter if there's a cure or not, and your company has developed this and can treat this and wants to promote their product. It needs to be support all the way around for all types of alopecia because it all needs to be highlighted. Insurance companies need to cover a lot of these things like the medical wigs. They need to cover it, not just one wig, so give you so much money. They need to cover a total amount for a complete wig at least once a year, the treatments for dermatologists, going to the dermatologist, that stuff needs to be fully covered because this is a illness, so I just think more of that needs to definitely happen.
Yeah.
Now, as far as my role in it, I just put myself out there as much as possible. I try to be an example as much as possible through my podcast, or I was just in a beauty pageant for bald women. So just showing up, being online, showing that I'm good. And, I'm out here in this world living every day looking just like this. And if you want to do it, you can too. That's all I can do. And there are so many more women who have come out and, they're living their greatness. And there are a lot of women who are still afraid and not confident. But the more women start stepping out there and showing that we are still beautiful and we are showing that we're beautiful, the more confidence that other women will receive.
I love that. I love that. And I did not, well, congratulations are in order.
Thank you.
Uh, Pageant contestant. That is amazing. And I agree. It's all about visibility representation. And I don't think it's necessarily people aren't confident. I think that people identify with their hair. So
Yeah.
that's why I think that, so some people identify with it and so they don't want to be without it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it is right that when we see more representation. I think about the different commercials. We see people with other skin conditions like vitiligo and just different
Yeah.
things. I think once we see more representation and get the conversation started, which is going to be something we're going to talk about later. But
Mm-hmm.
once we see people, now let me ask you, because like this is an individual condition and people deal with it as each individual would. How are you about, since you do beautifully display your bald head, how are you about people coming up to you and asking you questions? Do they think it's cancer, or how do you do about educating, or do you?
You know what? I really don't get much of do I have cancer because I have micropigmentation. So, like you can see the hair, well, it's not hair, but the shadow on my scalp, it gives the appearance that I have like a bald fade. Like I have hair, but I just shave my hair off. So, I don't necessarily get those comments. I get the comments that say, wow, I wish I could do that. You look beautiful. I wish I had the head for that. I get those type of comments.
Supportive. They consider that supportive, but they don't know that
Yeah.
there's an underlying reason.
Right, right. So I don't, now I could tell you before when I first cut my hair off and I was not prepared. I had to cut it off as an emergency kind of situation. And so I was slick bald and I, just did not have the micropigmentation. Now I did have negative comments towards me, but I really couldn't combat it at that point because I wasn't in a place to accept what was going on with myself. I was still in a low place. I was still very, very insecure. So, I might be like, kind of blow it off, but I never really came back at anybody at that point in time. But now, if someone was to come at me negatively, then definitely I would definitely say something and educate them about, well, I have alopecia. So does so many men and women, children around this world. Millions of people have alopecia, some form of it. And as a matter of fact, you may have it yourself and just don't realize it, you know? So just, I would definitely say something now, but again, I'm in a different place than what I was then.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem speaking up for myself or anybody else.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people ask those questions 'cause they really don't know, and that's just their go-to.
Yeah. And then, it's just, and it's so much information out here. I'm learning more and more
Yeah,
things every day about hair loss and alopecia. I'm hearing different stories,
yeah,
and I'm just like, wow, just different people's stories of how they were affected, how their hair came out.
yeah.
It's just like, it's just something new. You don't know how this thing will happen to you or how it will happen to another person.
That's so true. Um, so if there was one message about alopecia that you could share to anyone, what would it be and why would that message be important to you? One message.
One message, alopecia can affect anyone. Again, alopecia means hair loss. That's all it means, and there are different forms of it. So it can be as little as your diet, or it could be as much as an autoimmune, disease that you have. So really, just understanding that you could be affected. So have compassion for people out there who you may see that have a bald head or have hair loss. Some people cut their hair off because they just want to. Just understand that it's different forms of people, different forms of beauty, and don't judge people. Come from a good place whenever you are talking to someone, or even if you do have a question, come from a good place when you are doing that.
I feel that. That's so true. That is so true. So I think the future is bright. Until they come up with a cure, if they do, there are many treatments, but until they come up with a cure, this is something that a lot of people are going to be living with. And we hope by doing things like this to bring more awareness too. So, we're talking about the future, Kellie. Looking ahead, what changes or advancements would you like to see in the conversation around alopecia that would benefit those who are currently living with it?
As far as the conversation is concerned, I would like to see more people be open and talking about their hair loss. I understand it could be a struggle, if you are just not ready, but the more you talk about it, the more you share, the more you'll help someone else. As far as the conversation is concerned. Now, that's just on the level of people who have hair loss.
Yeah.
But as far as the medical field, the pharmaceutical company, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier.
Mhm.
Understanding that you need to look at all forms of alopecia and that research and development needs to go towards all forms of alopecia. It's an autoimmune disease a lot of times. And so therefore, just like you research other diseases and try to find cures, or just understand it a little bit better, what's causing it, because that's a big thing. If we can just understand, well, what is really causing this thing, so then people can stop doing whatever they're doing that's causing the hair loss, that could just be a big thing right there. So I just think dedicating more time, energy, and effort, and again, educating people about what alopecia is.
I certainly think that education is the key. Support is definitely what you're doing to be there for people to I think there's so much value in people seeing you because a lot of times they don't think anybody else is dealing with it. But when they see you and how you are and how you talk about and how you advocate, I think that is so profound and it's definitely needed. So
Thank you.
as we kind of going to run out of a little bit of time here, I know, Kellie, there's going to be somebody who is going to want to know more about what it is you do and want to connect with you. Can you share how to get in contact with you, please?
Yeah, you can visit my website. It's www.limitlessmindsetcoach.com. Just visit the website. You can submit a inquiry. You can book a call with me. You can just read some information. You can definitely connect with me in different ways through the website, and even see my podcast on there as well.
Yes, that podcast, definitely. Okay, that's going to be all for today. Thank you again, Kellie, for spending time with us here today. I appreciate it so much. And Everyone else, until next time, this is Stephanie Anderson, the Alopecia Advocate. See you later. Take care. Be blessed. Bye-bye.